In 1873, a British engineer named Joseph Jagger walked into the most glamorous casino in Europe and did something the building was designed to make impossible. He won, not once, again and again and again. As the story is usually told, Jagger wasn't lucky. He was an engineer, carrying a suspicion most gamblers never have, that a roulette wheel is a machine and machines have flaws. So he did what engineers do. He hired six clerks to stand at the tables in Monte Carlo and record every number that came up. And buried in that ocean of data, he found it, one wheel that leaned. Certain numbers surfaced slightly too often. A tiny mechanical bias, invisible to every hopeful optimist in the room. Jagger bet the bias, and by most accounts, he walked out with a fortune. In today's money, millions. But here is the part almost nobody tells you, because it's the part that actually matters. The casino didn't rage, it didn't drag him out, it got to work. Overnight, staff rearranged the wheels, moving the metal frets between the numbers, so the exact bias Jagger had mapped no longer existed. The next day he sat down, played his winning numbers, and lost. The machine had rewritten itself while he slept. Sit with that. The lesson isn't a man beat the house. The lesson is what the house did the moment it started losing. It changed the rules, silently overnight, aimed at exactly one person, the winner. I used to think a casino was simply a game you were unlikely to win. I was wrong. A game has fixed rules. What I was really looking at was something else entirely. And it has a name. Any system that watches how you're doing and quietly does the opposite of what you'd expect. When you lose, it opens the taps and lets you lose faster. When you start winning, it reaches in and turns you down. Most people assume a business wants its best players, the sharp ones who win. The winner's throttle flips that instinct completely. Here, the person who wins is not the prize customer, he's the defect. And if that already sounds a little paranoid, hold on to one strange fact. This is an industry that spends real money teaching you how to lose less. Keep that question warm. We'll come back to why a machine would ever do that. That inversion isn't abstract theory. Critics and some former insiders describe the operating principle in flat terms. The customer they truly want is the one who loses. Picture a nightclub that runs its velvet rope backwards. At a normal door, winners get waved in and stragglers get turned away. Invert the rope, and the rule flips. The person bleeding money gets the VIP wristband, the private host, the warm seat kept ready, while the person who keeps winning gets quietly walked toward the exit. In a fair game, winnings is the whole point. On the far side of the inverted velvet rope, winning is the one thing that gets you removed. So, how does a single company reach into thousands of accounts at once and pull that rope? It doesn't use a doorman, it uses math. Here is what's documented, not whispered. In betting, when a customer wins consistently, bookmakers routinely limit or close the account, cap the stakes, refuse the bet until the edge that player found is worthless. The trade even has a nickname for it, gubbing. The skilled winner isn't thrown out with a dramatic escort to the door. He simply discovers quietly that he can no longer place a real bet. And it isn't only bookmakers. In trading, many brokers profit directly when their clients lose, and by regulators' own published numbers, the large majority of retail traders in these products do lose, commonly in the range of 70 to 80% or more. That part is on the record. What critics and some former insiders go further to allege, and this is an allegation, not a confirmed formula, is that the same system's flagging and throttling winners can be tuned the other way to keep the less skilled, losing customer comfortable, extended, and active as long as possible. The winner throttle is documented. Deliberately keeping losers losing is the accusation. Either way, the shape runs account by account at scale in silence. And once you see that shape, you can't unsee it. Because the casino is only the clearest version of a pattern hiding everywhere. Here's the deeper principle, the one the math itself protects. Underneath every casino game sits something economists call negative expected value. For every dollar that crosses the table, slightly less than a dollar flows back to the players, on average, forever. That gap is the house edge. You are not fighting the dealer or the wheel or your luck. You are fighting arithmetic that never sleeps and never tilts. In the short run, arithmetic wears disguise. It looks like chance. You win a night, you feel like a genius. In the long run, the disguise comes off, and arithmetic looks like certainty. And the operator only ever cares about the long run, which raises the real question. If the math already guarantees the win, why bother throttling anyone at all? Because the math only guarantees the average. And a Joseph Jagger, someone who finds a genuine crack, a biased wheel, a mispriced bet, breaks the average. He's the one player the arithmetic can't absorb. So the system grew a second layer on top of the math, a layer that hunts for anyone beating it and neutralizes them by hand. The equation handles the crowd, the throttle handles the exceptions. Between the two, the exit quietly disappears. Now, let me be honest about the edges here, because it matters. I can't tell you the exact formula any single company uses. Those live behind locked doors, and anyone claiming to know the precise numbers is guessing. But the outline isn't really in dispute. The account limits are visible from the outside. The industry has its own words for them, and people who worked inside have described the logic. You don't need the blueprint to see the building. And here the casino stops being about gambling at all. Ask the question underneath it. What happens to any human system when the people running it are measured by one number, revenue, and handed a dial that can turn other people up or down? The casino answers with brutal purity. It will crown a compulsive loser a VIP. It will brand a disciplined winner a problem. And it will feel nothing either way. Because feeling was never in the design. The winner's throttle isn't cruel. It's colder than that. It's indifferent. And cruelty, at least, notices you. So, what do you actually do with this? Not gamble responsibly. And now we can close the loop I left open. Remember the strange fact: an industry that pays to teach you how to lose less. Once you've seen the machine, that generosity reads differently. Responsible gambling quietly relocates the whole problem into your willpower, as if the only thing between you and safety were self control. But the machine was never sorting on your willpower, it was sorting on your profitability. It's a key carefully cut for the wrong lock. So do something simpler than any slogan. Whenever you step inside any system, ask one question: what happens here the moment I start winning? If the honest answer is that the rules would quietly change to stop you, a bet limited, an account flagged, a price drifting against you, then you were never playing a game. You were feeding a machine wearing a game's costume. Joseph Jagger's real victory in 1873 wasn't the money, it was the proof, captured for all of us, of what the house does when it starts to lose. It doesn't play fair, it rebuilds the wheel. The only winning move is to recognize the machine before you sit down and to understand that the door marked you could win was painted onto a wall.